Hey everybody, it's Tish Hicks. I am the Master Sensei of the VO Dojo here in Burbank, California, and this is the VO Dojo 21 Questions. We are super excited to welcome my dear old friend and true voiceover colleague from the very beginning, Peter Jessop. He's going to be joining us for Ask the Sensei soon, but wanted to have him join us here so we could ask him questions about his himself and his voiceover career so that when we get together on Ask the Sensei, we can answer your questions. We can be here for you. So, hi Peter, welcome, welcome.
Good morning or evening or whoever, whenever.
Whenever this is being taken in. Yeah. Well, let's jump right in.
Okay.
Um, what's your one word check-in for today?
Uh, Relaxed.
Relaxed. Good, good, good. Where are you from?
Originally, well, all over the place, but Chicago.
Hey,
Yeah,
Chicago.
basically. That's the nutshell answer.
Yeah, 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 yeah. That's when we first met out here.
Yeah.
We
And
had
that,
both just come from Chicago. So yeah. And now I say it like Chicago. Where do you live now?
uh, the Valley. I'm in LA in the
In
Valley.
LA, in the Valley. Good, good, good. And what would we know your voice from? I know a voice that has been on a lot of things for a long time.
Yeah, I did a lot of commercials that you saw in the last 25 or so years, but
Yeah. What are your favorite campaigns?
oh gosh, Marie Callender's was fun.
Mhm.
The pot pies and those kinds of things.
Mhm.
Pennzoil was good, but I think mostly if you play video games, people play video games. Paladin Dance from Fallout 4,
Mhm.
Albert Wesker from Resident Evil. Those are the high
Yeah.
profile ones.
Yeah. And you have some superheroes under your belt too, right?
True, I was Superman in JLA Adventures, and I was the
Oh,
Vision,
all
in the Avengers, Earth's Mightiest Hero.
right. Yeah, a little thing like
Yeah.
Superman, you know. Um, how long have you been doing voiceover? I know the answer to this, but
Yes, I actually had to think about it the other day. Professionally, I got my SAG card in 1989 uh,
wow.
for doing a Corona beer commercial voiceover.
Hmm.
So what would that be? It's 2024 now. So that would be
Gosh,
25 years or 35 years.
35 years. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, venerable. That's venerable and awesome. That's great. Um, who's your current team? And I'll let you define that. Sometimes it's representation, sometimes it's I got who supports you in keeping your voiceover career going?
At this point, it's the folks at CESD
Mm-hmm.
and the folks now at DPN New York
Nice.
are
Yeah.
the ones that are out there working for me. So
Mm-hmm. Good, good, good. And technically, what's your recording setup like?
my home recording setup is basically a MacBook Pro with a Sennheiser 416 and a still my favorite preamp. It's called a MicPort Pro.
Mm-hmm.
It's this big. It clips onto the end of the mic and it goes straight into a USB and it does everything you need a preamp to do without having the big M box or any of that kind of stuff or the Scarlett, all that clunky stuff. It's just boom right in. So,
Oh, fantastic. So
and
kind
then
of
it's soundproof room.
a spy setup. And your soundproof room. Yeah, yeah. Good, good, good. Um, what is your voiceover origin story? How did you get started?
Well, I kind of dabbled in Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
That was like sort of the thing. You're trying to become an actor. You want to be on TV and movies, and you end up doing industrial films and voiceover because that was what was available in the 80s in Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
Came out here to do a TV show in 91 and got hit by a car while I was on my bicycle and messed my face up and couldn't do the show. So I'm like, well, gosh, I did voiceover in Chicago. I guess I'm going to have to lean into that because nobody cares if the whole right side of your face is peeled off.
Oh man.
Yeah. So leaned into that and got a demo together and found an agent, and then struggled for years, and then got a better agent where I met
Hmm.
uh and started working. And I think, yeah, that's the VO story.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
wasn't intentional,
Mhm.
um, but it was purposeful.
Ooh, that's a powerful way to that's a powerful way to say it. And before you had trained as an actor, or what else did you do
Yeah. Before
before?
that, I trained as an actor. I did theater, did little stuff in, movies and uh, not really TV. Yeah, I guess that was TV. It was TV movie,
Mhm.
um, but nothing really that anybody would ever have seen or known that it was me in.
Right, right.
So,
In that Chicago in the 80s, you were in
yeah,
that movie with
but I was also young. I was in really good shape. I had good hair. And by the time my face had healed up, I'd gone bald and I'd put on some weight, and I was like, I'll just do voiceover. This is a good gig. I'm gonna why
Like,
knock myself
and
out?
let's see. Don't have to get up, don't have to do makeup, don't have yeah. Good, good, good. Um, cool, 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 cool. Um, let's see. What were the three top ingredients, or what do you think are the three top ingredients to your success as a voiceover artist?
Uh, I paid attention to what I was doing was the first ingredient.
Mhm.
I took classes, I studied, I found out what you need to know to be proficient at the technical aspects of voiceover. Um,
Technical meaning recording or technical
Technical
meaning
meaning
delivering, like
how to
having
work
skills
how to work a microphone,
there?
um, how to create an audio environment in the booth uh,
Mhm,
when it's just you. Um, what the different kinds of tonalities that they were looking for, and mostly so that kind of stuff. And took some great classes with some great teachers back in the 90s. And
mhm.
I think the second ingredient is I forgot to quit. That's the big second ingredient. People have often asked, well, how did you make a career in voiceover? It's like I forgot to quit.
Implying that there were times that you might have been reminded to quit,
Yeah, it's
or
just like, why
implying
am
that
I killing myself for this? It's not working out. Back in before I really started, before I could quit my day jobs, there
okay, good,
were where I
yep,
was, is it really worth, struggling with this every day, every week, whatever, trying to get this. And that just didn't even, it wasn't an option. It
mhm,
never became an option in my mind. So,
mm,
and I have friends who have like, yeah, I just couldn't do it, you know, and I
yeah,
went to
yeah, yeah.
school and got my law degree or whatever.
Right, right, right. So paid close attention to what you were doing, forgot to quit, and what's a third ingredient?
A third ingredient would be, um, I think being in the right place at the right time.
Mm,
It's
mhm,
a serendipity kind of thing. You and I met at ARL back in the
mhm. Abrams
uh,
Rudolph Lawrence, yeah,
Abrams
back in the day.
Rubloff and Lawrence. And I got into Abrams Rubloff and Lawrence because I ran into Nancy Wolfson,
Mhm, mhm,
uh, and had a chance to talk to her and say, can you listen to my demo? Why am I not booking stuff?
mhm,
And when she came back and said, I don't know why you're not booking stuff. You should be booking stuff.
mhm.
Uh, Come over to ARL.
Come,
So,
let's book things
and I
together.
think that was the real, that was the catalyst that got things going, was
Mm.
having a real agent that understood what I was doing, or what I could do, and putting me out there for it.
Right, right, right. So, yeah, good, good, good. Um, what would you say was your big break, if you think that there is one, or maybe there's several as your career has evolved. Like maybe there was a first thing and then,
There were a
oh,
couple of,
I knew it was at the next level or something like
yeah,
that.
there were a series of. good breaks, but I think the first big break was getting that very first commercial campaign.
Mhm, mhm. What was that
It,
for?
it was for EDS,
Uh-huh.
electronic data systems,
Mhm.
and they were just going international, so they did 7 commercials, broadcast commercials that were running globally.
Wow.
Yeah, and if you remember the commercial strike in 2001,
Mhm,
I booked
mhm,
that job just before the strike,
mm,
or several months before the strike.
mm.
Um, Went into escrow on my house the day the strike started, and was able to keep my house because of that one.
Mhm. Right, right, right.
We were on strike for like 4 months,
Yeah,
and nobody worked,
yeah, yeah.
and that's what I consider my big break. That I was like, okay, I can now stop loading bags at the airport, which is what I was
Right.
doing for my day job,
Right,
and
right, which is one of the questions, like, what else did you do? What else did you do on the way? Yeah,
so yeah.
yeah, that's cool, that's cool. Um, Good, good, good. And how long did it take you from starting VO to making your full-time living in VO? I think this
I
is a
would,
really, really important thing for people starting, that even 30 years ago, it didn't just like, la la,
yeah,
I I'm buying a house.
yeah,
It like, so it's good for people to know that things start
yeah.
little and take a while. But what was that experience for you?
Um, it was like 8 or 9 years. I mean,
Oh,
when
really? Wow,
I really
wow.
leaned into it, when I first started just pursuing voiceover in 1991,
Mhm.
I was I was able to quit my job in 2000, and my wife at the time was nervous and said, "Please don't quit, please don't quit." So I stayed until 2001, but I didn't really need the day job at that point.
Right, right, right.
But you get an agent, which took a couple of years.
Mhm.
Find an agent. Uh, that agent turned out to be one of those kind of agents that sends you one audition every 3 months.
Mhm. Right.
Uh, and every audition I read for with that agent, I booked.
Mhm. Mhm.
I was batting 1,000. I had a 100% booking rate,
Wow, that's
but
cool.
then I wouldn't hear from her for 3 months,
Right, right, right.
and then I'd book that job, and then I wouldn't hear for 3 months, and it was really frustrating. Um, and then when I got to ARL with Nancy in like 99, 98,
Mhm.
um, it took uh, actually booked the first audition I got there,
Mhm.
and then didn't book another thing for a year.
Oh, wow.
It just, there was a real there's a learning curve. There's a transition period that you have to,
Mhm.
and so that was the journey. It was just
Yeah, yeah.
go out and make a couple of bucks doing a couple of commercials, or a couple
Mhm.
of do one episode of an animated show,
Mhm. Mhm. And
and
then
just keep
then
building on it.
let it build. Yeah, yeah, yeah. What do you say you are proudest of in your voiceover career?
That's a very good question. I think the character that I'm proudest of is Paladin Dance in Fallout 4.
Mhm. How come?
Great character, beautifully written, wonderful backstory.
Mhm.
It's an emotional arc. There's a personal growth arc. It's fantastic. Uh,
Yeah.
I mean, and I think commercially, the thing I'm most proud of, I did the Audi Super Bowl ad in 2018.
Oh, that's cool.
Do I
That's
tell
cool.
my daughter, the little girl in the soapbox derby?
Oh, that's a beautiful
Yeah,
ad. I remember
and
that one.
that was another one of those where every element of it was perfect,
Mhm. Oh, you get shivers just thinking of that ad.
and I'm
Like,
glad I
yeah,
got to participate. You know,
yeah, that's
so
cool. Yeah, and those opportunities, um, commercials are, um, interesting because they are integrated into daily life, but then they can become ephemeral.
yeah,
And when there's those spots that are, built to be memorable at that place when the whole world is watching. That's kind of a that's kind of a cool opportunity. And then it goes to the heart of having that emotional interaction. Like you know that people are going to be moved by this well-produced ad. Um, and your voice is a part of that. That's cool.
And with
That's
that
great.
said, Super Bowl ads, anybody who's listening, uh, they're usually fun. They're great for exposure. You make no money. Pay you a session fee. They air it once,
Oh,
so they
interesting.
don't have to pay you for when they air it. They air it once during the Super Bowl, and then they never run it again. It goes on YouTube.
Oh, that's
It's got
interesting. Good
got
to know.
30 million views on YouTube,
Right, right, right.
but it
Oh,
never
that's interesting. So what we want to do is be the go-to person on the thing that has 7 spots running internationally for
aired.
20 years. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, that's good to know. That's good to know. What do you think your biggest fear or challenge in your voiceover career has been or is?
Um, there is a constant need for self reinvention in this
Mm,
industry. Um, the trends vocally, the trends in characters and attitudes and animation and in interactive stuff and in commercials are
mhm,
are always changing. And I think the biggest challenge is to be aware of those changes,
mhm,
adapt to.
mhm. Yeah. Yeah, 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 absolutely. It goes up and it goes down.
Yeah,
I think it's a little like the stock market, right? Ideally, like, there'll be ups and downs, but stay it long enough,
right.
right?
It's like surfing. I've
Yeah,
always likened it to surfing. It's like, okay, this wave is pooping out. What's the next big wave, and how do I get to it?
yeah, 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 yeah. And sometimes you have to paddle out a while. You
Yep.
have to paddle out and trust that you'll do your best to catch the next. Yeah, that's good. And that there's channels, right?
Yep.
But it's not just random the ocean. It's like you get yourself positioned where there's a break,
Yep.
where waves are coming in. You go in the morning, right? You go in the morning, so
Right.
it's there. And yeah, it's not you don't just get to the wave, you have to paddle out, and that requires skill, that requires energy and strength, and I think a streamlining and focus of that energy and strength to be able to
Yeah.
do that well. And then you catch what you can, ride it for as long as you can, and then get back into the channel and
For the
go
next
again.
one. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's great. That's a great image. That's fantastic. Um, let's see. Would you consider yourself an introvert or an extrovert?
Introvert.
Introvert. Yeah. I think that I like asking that question because I think what this business requires is that if you're an introvert, then you have to activate activate and keep making sure that you're in connection in relation.
Yeah.
And if you're an extrovert, then you have to sit in your little box for a while without people and it's just you. So it really requires that you figure out the hybrid of out of your comfort zone. So good,
So
yeah.
this is the perfect job for a mezzovert, I guess.
That's the word, yes. Yes, yes. If you could do voiceover from anywhere in the world, where would it be? Where would you dream of doing voiceover
Lime Studios in Santa Monica. They have a
from?
phenomenal.
Yeah, the phenomenal chef. Yes, yes, yes. It is good. I always, I think that's something interesting too, because back in the day, we only went to our agents and we only went to fancy studios. So I always say that going to the studio is like going for a spa day. Like you do your work in your home booth, and that's like taking a shower every day, and yeah, you wash your hair and stuff. But then when you get to go to the studio, it's like a spa day. That's great. That's great. Um, What would you say your VO motto is if you had one, or you could make one up right now?
Motto. Honestly, for me, it's pay attention,
Mm,
uh,
mm-hmm.
because I tend to drift and remind myself to focus.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
But I think that also is, I think paying attention combines effort and intent. I think
Mm. Whew, yeah.
that understand what you're doing. That's
Mm-hmm.
to me the most important part of voiceover. Doesn't matter if you have a great voice. It doesn't matter if you have Shakespearean theatrical training. What are the words in front of you? What do they mean? What message are you trying to convey? How do you do that?
Right. And then
So
and then paying attention
pay
to
attention
what
to
allows, what are the nuances, what are the nuances of all of that? Yeah.
what do you need to make this work the way it needs to work.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Beautiful. 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 Um, what's your daily VO practice, or what's a typical VO day? I know you said you were in the mocap volume the other day,
Yeah.
which may be typical, but maybe typical, maybe atypical.
It's not. This is the first mocap I've ever done, and it was a blast.
Oh, really? Cool,
Yeah,
cool,
yeah.
cool. Yeah. Yeah, that's
It's like
cool.
it reminded me very much of theater school when you're in the
Mm-hmm.
rehearsal room at the Performing Arts Center,
Right, right, right.
and they've got things blocked out with tape, and like this is going to be where the sofa is, and this is going to be where the pillar is, and that kind of stuff, and that's
Yeah. Yeah, it's
but
kind of fun to go full circle.
yeah, for me, a VO day consists of uh, I write music, so I think some of it. So I think singing is important. If you sing,
Mm-hmm.
it can only enhance your voice. Um, so I do a little music work every day. Whatever auditions come in, um, I prep them and then I go record them.
Mm-hmm.
Send them out.
Mm-hmm.
If there's work, whatever the session is, if it's at here, if it's at a studio,
Mm-hmm.
I don't really plan my voiceover stuff every day. I take it as it comes.
Right, right, right. So it's just part of the flow of your day. Yeah, it's woven into the flow of your day. That's fantastic. Um, let's see. Um, so knowing what you know now, what would you say to yourself at the beginning of your career?
Hmm. Don't take anything for granted.
Mm, mm-hmm,
Um, there's a level of success that you can, and that one may achieve. Uh,
mm-hmm,
and after a certain point, you may think, oh, well, this is the standard. This is the norm.
mm-hmm.
It is not the norm.
Yeah, yeah.
Every success that you have is an exception to the norm. And
Mm,
it's a question of trying to capitalize on as many exceptions to that norm as you can, but don't ever count on it
yeah.
lasting or because you never know what kinds of changes are going to happen in the industry.
Right. I remember at one point in your career too, you had some really intense vocal health issues. Can
Yeah.
you share a little bit about that? I mean, because it happens in all different ways, but
Yeah.
can you
I had
share a
a
little bit about that? Because you have had
lasted for a year.
multi six-figure years for many, many of the 30. And then I remember this incident that was so scary.
Yep. I had a persistent cough for about a year that got so bad that I had traumatized the vagus nerve that runs down the center of your body. And I would get into a coughing fit and it would force me to pass out.
Oh my gosh.
Vagus nerve is the if you can traumatize that nerve, it will make you go unconscious. And I was coughing myself into a blackout on a regular basis. They couldn't figure out what was causing it. rounds and rounds of antibiotics, PET scans, CAT scans, MRIs, X-rays, the whole 9 yards. They couldn't figure out what it was. And finally, I went to an ear, nose, and throat guy who said, "Well, we can do a surgery that will that will expand your sinuses." I was like, "Oh, okay." Uh, and while he was in there, he found that because your sinuses aren't just two big pockets in your head, there are dozens of them. Some of them are small, some of them are big. They
Mhm.
found a persistent staph infection in one small sinus pocket.
Oh, wow. So it was
And
just
that
like
was
an internal flame of
internal
infection.
flame, and it would flare up and it would come and it would calm down. It would flare up, it would calm down. So he scraped it out.
Wow.
And that was the cure to it, was clearing out that infection uh, that wasn't going away.
Mhm.
Uh, yeah, and it cleared up after that. So
Yeah. But it was like a long time. It was like months, months and
it
months,
was a
right?
year at least. Yeah, it was.
Oh,
Yeah,
wow. Yeah, I remember how challenging that was.
I couldn't
Um,
drive. They wouldn't. They're like you
oh,
you
because you
drive
could
your
have
car
coughed and
because
passed
you'll
out.
pass out and you'll kill somebody. Yeah,
Right, right, right. Well, one of the things that we always talk about at the dojo is vocal health being essential because if your voice isn't working, you aren't working. So, yeah, that's really powerful.
and there are different kinds of things you can do for different kinds of voices. Yuri Lowenthal, uh,
Hmm.
great voice actor, great voiceover artist, uh, but he does a lot of younger voices. And we were having a conversation one day because I was drinking a cup of coffee. He goes, "Yeah, I can't drink coffee anymore because it roughens up my voice and I need to keep my voice youthful."
Oh, right, right, right.
And I was like, "Wow, I'm going to go smoke a cigar now because my voice, this is how I make my living." I can't do the youthful voices. It
Right.
makes me sound older and gruffer. So
Yeah.
I didn't go smoke a cigar, but that was the
Right, right, right.
joke
I
I was.
remember I remember a discussion we had early, early on in the like wee years of the dojo, and you talked about your like I can't remember if we were listening to your demo or something, but you had like your main signature voice, and then you said something like, "I'm the second in line folksy voice," or something like that. Can you talk a little bit about that, like knowing your voice and how to use it and
Yeah,
how
there are
that?
a number of sort of prototype voice prints that are out there. This is my normal speaking voice. I can do a read like that. But there's sort of the um what's his name? Sam with the big mustache. Um, but
Oh, Sam
that's
Elliott. Sam Elliott.
yeah, that
Yeah.
old sort of country cowboy kind of guy. That guy that talks like this, and honestly, I did Marie Callender's for 5 years doing that character.
Mhm, mhm.
And then one day in the booth, because they were talking about recasting the whole thing, they said, "Can you just do some in your regular voice?" And I was like, "Okay." So I started doing it in my regular voice, and then they kept me on for another 3 years doing Marie Callender's just with a regular straight read.
Nice, nice, nice. It's like 1 second.
Oh, the old country guy wave had crested and gone, and they were
Right.
moving on to whatever the next thing was. And I happened to be lucky enough to be in the booth while they were doing that deciding, and got to
Wow,
keep.
that's cool. That's
Yeah,
cool, that's cool. Now, how did you find the voice of something as iconic as Superman? What was your process to create your voice for Superman? That seems like a
that's a
cool,
funny one.
interesting challenge.
When the auditions came in for that, uh, I read for Lex Luthor and Gorilla Grodd and Solomon Grundy and all of the
Mhm.
villains that I normally read for. And our agent Mark Quinn at the time said, "Well, they want you to read for Superman too." And I was like, "What?"
What? Did you notice?
And so what I did was I went into the booth and uh, I took all of the character out of my voice. So it was
Mm,
a very sort of straightforward read with no visible, there was no gravel, uh, there's really no character. It's a very sort of generic, bland kind of a voice
mm,
because that's how they had done it. They had, and don't get me wrong, this is not a criticism of George Newbern or Tim Daly, but that's the kind of voice that they had when they did the voice of Superman in the animated show and then in the Justice League series.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Because Superman is so super powerful, you don't want him to have a super powerful voice. You want him to have a
Right.
relatable voice.
Right.
So
And then it allows the blend for Clark Kent too, because he
exactly,
doesn't really have to do those things, right? Yeah. That's cool.
yeah,
That's cool. Hey. Well, so many great stories and so many great things and super exciting that the next thing is evolving. I know we can't talk about it, but I know you had mentioned that the thing that you've been doing on the volume is
yeah.
going to be big. It's going to be really big.
Hopefully, it's going to be big.
Yeah, that's great. It's fantastic. Um, cool. Well, thank you so much for spending some time and giving us some insights into you and answering a bunch of questions about you. And we'll look forward to seeing you on Ask the Sensei soon. And we can answer everybody's questions together.
Sounds good.
All right.
For
See you
having me.
soon. Sure.